John, what did you in particular learn about Davis Mills, Nick Caley, and the Houston Texans on Sunday after that improbable, seemingly at the time, impossible comeback over the Jags?
First of all, this is what I thought about it. I've been hacked on Twitter for the last 2 weeks, so I've been unable to tweet in the last two games. At the start of that game, it was like a drug. I had to have Twitter so I could blast the Texans for that pathetic start in which they act like they didn't even want to play. I mean, it was one of the worst. It was the worst start they've had this season. And then in the fourth quarter, I would have been praising the hell out of them like everybody else. And I know Davis Mills said after the game, yeah, he didn't say we knew we had it in the bag, but that's what he was insinuating. Well, nobody thought they had it in the bag. They're down 19 points to a team that had already beaten them once. And I think we've seen Mills have 300-yard games. A couple of them we saw him beat the Chargers and Justin Herbert. And a lot better than he played off the bench against Denver when he was awful. And then that first interception, I'm like, oh, my God, what's happened to Mills? Did he forget how to play football? And then he and they showed they got guts, they got heart. You know, it's a cliche to say that. And the Jaguars, anytime a team blows a lead like that, you choke. And they choked it. And the Texans took advantage of it. And, of course, the biggest surprise was Mills, who sometimes runs like he's in wet cement, showed speed and daring do like we haven't seen. And when I went back and watched it, a play that, and I know the Chronicle mentioned this, I think, in Sam Warren's story today, Woody Marks was right there where Davis wanted to run. And when he saw Davis take off, Marks cut up field to take the player covering him out of the picture.
Yeah.
And that cleared the way for Mills to score the touchdown. And then because Cam Little is such a great kicker, who set the all-time record with a 68-yard field goal the week before, you just knew if you're a Texans fan and they had 5 losses by 1 score, what was going to happen. It was going to be like Denver. But then the sack, Will Anderson Jr. sacking Lawrence, and Lawrence held the ball too long. You know, Jaguars fans are like, throw it, boom, sack, and Sheldon Rankins is like, woo, what it fell out of the sky and landed in my lap. And you look at the score and you go, wow, they beat them by 7. And I think the Texans, no matter what situation they get in, D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caley, Matt Burke are going to be able to, and Frank Ross will be able to remind the players, look, remember, we did it against Jacksonville. Yeah. We can do it now. Now they got to make sure that they go up to Tennessee. They got nothing. The Titans have nothing to play for except the first pick, and the Texans shut them out. But they got pride. I'm really eager to see Cam Ward going to get up against Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, who may have had the best game of his career. 8 pressures, a season high, 3.5 sacks, tied his career high. He went up against Houstonian Walker Little, and I felt bad for Little because, golly, he was so quick and so strong. They call him on TV. Well, I think he was flexing that he's built like a cyborg and he plays like a cyborg. So the big one, they can't get caught looking ahead, is going to be Buffalo here on Thursday, next Thursday. And there could be 500 for the first time after the 0-3 start. They could be a game over 500 if they beat the Bills here like they did last year when the defense played fantastic and made Josh Allen have the worst game since his rookie year. So I kept thinking after Denver, okay, they've lost their chance here. You know, there's no way they're going to catch Indy, and I don't think they are. They'd have to win at least 2 or 3 games that they're not supposed to win, and then Indy would have to lose. And Indy came so close.
Yeah.
I went to the press box at 8, and I kept thinking the whole time Indy's going to lose to the Falcons, and the Falcons stuck it up against Jonathan Taylor. But the Texans, this is their opportunity. You got to beat the Titans, and then you got to come back and continue to make the Bills miserable.
John, are we finally starting to see, the kids get trusted here with the Texans? I mean, the only guy they really had started from the word go was Tay Ursery. But Now you have Woody Marks getting 80% of the snaps on Sunday. You had Jaden Higgins getting 57% of the snaps. Jalen Noel went from 11 to 25 snaps. Are they finally comfortable trusting the kids more?
Well, because the kids are doing better. And I thought, when you think about that, in the first game, remember how Josh Hines-Allen just tortured Ariante Ursary, including on the last turnover in which they didn't give him any help. He beat him around the corner, hit Stroud's arm as he was throwing, interception on the 4, I think, and third turnover in the red zone in the fourth quarter. I don't even remember, did they mention Hines-Allen's name in the game?
No.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. And Ursary did a great job. And I'll tell you what was weird. City Sal, did D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caley and Cole Proctor have a dream that a guy named City Sal comes off the practice squad and can start over Juice Scruggs at right guard, and he was so awful. At least they had the wherewithal to get him out and put Scruggs in. Then they had what's the left guard? I can't remember his name. Yeah, Jared Patterson coming in at left guard. And overall, with 3 new starters, Trent Brown is 380 pounds and 6'8". When he goes low to try to cut somebody, that's not good.
Yeah.
Because Walker just blew past him a couple of times, but he hadn't played in so long. I thought overall he did a good job, because you're not going to be out as long as he has and overcome an injury and just go out there and act like you're all pro. But overall, the offensive line did a really good job. Cole Proctor, Nick Caley should get a lot of credit for the way they played in the fourth quarter. And what are things to remember? And I remember Steve McNair, the late Steve McNair, told me in his third season that I said, why do you play better at the end of the first half and end of games than you do other parts? He said, because they don't make me think so much. When we have to score to win, or at the end of the first half, they don't make it so complicated. I got to think about things. I just go out and make plays.
Who said that?
And that's what Steve McNair.
Oh.
And that's what Caley called the plays, of course, and they ran quite a bit, and they were 5 yards at least on every play. And Woody Marks got the gains. Nick Chubb came off the bench and contributed. So Caley, I'm not saying it was the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, but it wasn't complicated. Davis Mills played with so much confidence, and I'm assuming Stroud's out, and so Davis will start. He's beaten the Titans in Nashville before, and I look to him maybe to be better at the start, not just the end.
Yeah, that Steve McNair quote that you just recited, you'd said that before, and earlier this season, in fact, and I want to say it was probably after the Texans did the work that they did on the Tennessee Titans the first time to get their first win of the season, and that's exactly the way that I felt too, John, about watching C.J. Stroud play and be in that offense against the Titans, is that for whatever reason, it looked like he was just more comfortable in a situation where you got to have it. You don't have to think about this, that, and the other thing. It's just, the task at hand, you're down, you got to go get the lead back, you got to do whatever you have to do. And that was Stroud. But in the same sense, can we extrapolate that up to the offensive coordinator, to the play caller? Nick Caley, I was there today, and he was asked a question about his sight lines, vantage point, comfortability, being able to call plays on the sidelines, if he's wavered in doing that versus going up in the booth. And he says he's completely comfortable. He feels in control. He felt like Davis Mills was in complete control this past weekend. I think that's a very interesting thing for a first guys doing the job. Maybe you're just best when you don't have to think and you just have to go do.
Well, Mills is a very smart guy. He's not a great athlete like McNair. He could make great plays and escape the rush and run like crazy, where Davis is a pocket passer. Sam Warren from the Chronicle does a weekly film study, and he had one I read today, and he talked about the plays that Mills made in the pocket compared to the previous game when he was doing the same thing, but he reacted differently. And you mentioned, Shaun, about the confidence. It was obvious Davis had more confidence, and there were 2 or 3 times he stood in there knowing that he was going to get blasted, and he completed the pass.
Man.
Where last week he would bail out or throw a short pass, and it was off target. But it was a different Davis. Not in the first quarter, in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Now they need to start doing it consistently.
Yeah, well, maybe you guys can help me remember, but there's one pass in particular, and I can't remember for some reason if it was Collins or if it was Higgins, that Davis, I've watched that play time and time again. I never focus on the receiver. I just look at Davis. It was a point of emphasis for him. It felt like to just do whatever it was going to take to stand his ass in there and deliver a seed right up the seam. And it was either Collins or Higgins that rose up in between 2 defenders and caught that ball and brought it down. That ball was placed perfectly, but it wouldn't have been that way if you slide to your right, or he slides to his left, or even if he maybe steps up, maybe he sails the guy. He stood his ass in there, and if he was going to get hit, he was going to get hit. And that's, I think, something that was maybe the most discernible to, in large part, what we've seen from CJ in this offense to what we saw this past weekend of Davis, is that there wasn't any happy feet. That guy looked comfortable, and he looked calculated, especially in the fourth quarter. He was going to get the ball to his receiver no matter what.
The biggest he threw to me was the third down pass that he threw to Schultz. Keep the drive going when they were still deep in
that 3rd and 10
territory. Yeah, Schultz had dropped the one in the previous drive on third down, and they didn't make it on fourth down. That was in the third quarter, I think. But Schultz has been playing really well. But he put that ball out there perfectly. Schultz got open, and I turned it into a double-digit game. And I think you saw the difference in Mills having a full week of practice with the starters as opposed to coming off the bench. And even though you come off the bench, you're supposed to be ready. It's obvious he wasn't ready, but he was going up against the best pass rush in the NFL against Denver. And but he did great. They ought to do great against the Titans again. And then get ready for the Bills to come in for a nationally televised game on Thursday night.
John, what do you expect from Davis Mills? I mean, look, we saw him look terrible against the Broncos. We saw him look terrible in the first half against Jacksonville, and then he looks like a Pro Bowler in the fourth quarter.
Well, first of all, Patrick, he was going up against the Broncos, and that defense is great. Their offense can't score squat, and they won like 6 or 8 in a row. I can't remember what it is, and winning so many close games, including that one. And Davis blew that last drive and put too much time on the clock and allowed Denver to win it. But Tennessee, I expected to play well. He's played well there before. And then I'm guessing, I don't have a clue, that Stroud would be back. You know, when he had the concussion as a rookie, his head hit the turf or the cement at MetLife Stadium, which is the hardest surface in the league. And I think he missed 2 games. Yeah. Even though his head hit hard, it was at NRG Stadium. It's a short week, but I'm just guessing he's going to clear protocol and be back. You know, Jalen Petrie is, Titus Howard's back. I'm very interested to see what they do with the offensive line. Obviously, Ed Ingram's coming back at right guard. Titus Howard, I'm guessing, would play right tackle, although I would seriously consider moving Titus back to left guard, where he played well last year, and give Trent Brown another game at right tackle.
Man, all right, so you just answered the question that I was going to have next. That immediately,
great minds, you know what they say.
Yeah, they think alike for sure. That in my mind, that's what I had envisioned as the best possible offensive line configuration you go with on Sunday, and maybe even beyond. Ursery, Howard, Andrews, Ingram, and Brown. We'll see. Right on in what Nick Caserio said on, I think it was the Texans All Access show this week, in that, you know, look, they went out and they got Trent Brown on a hell of a deal, right? Even for a 35-year-old guy coming off a knee surgery. The guy's been a proven starter in the NFL before, has done some good things, but they got him for $3 million. And in effort to utilize him just like they did this past weekend, He's there and a proven, trusted commodity if you need him. And if Titus Howard's healthy, that's probably how you go. But, for a team that has gone literally back and forth and here and there, and my God, they played some fella named City Sal, for a short time at left guard this past week. You never know where they're going to go. But I'm right there with you. Look, I wanted to ask you about this before we let you go because you mentioned it earlier. The Texans, as crazy it may seem, if things break right, they could be the 7th seed at the close of business on Sunday. Texans win. Broncos beat the Chiefs. Chargers beat the Jags. Is this a realistic, scenario for you in your mind going into Sunday?
Absolutely, it is for this week. And Denver and Kansas City are playing at Denver, right?
They are in. No. The Broncos are in Kansas City and the Chargers are in Jacksonville. I know that because they all it all works that way. They have to all be road wins, Texans included.
Yeah, well, I think the Chiefs will win. I think the Toronto Jacksonville. I don't know how the Jaguars recovered from that game, worst loss in their franchise history. And there's got to be some lingering effects. You hear it all week from the fans, the media, locally, nationally, and you don't have anybody to blame but yourself. D'Amico says he wants his 5 best linemen on the field. That was such an indictment of the other linemen, like Juice Scruggs, like Blake Fisher, second-round picks, and they're not on the field starting. Instead, City Sal, and he didn't last long. So I would love to know how they say those were the 5 best, but the bottom line is the guys they put out there played really well and helped them second biggest comeback in history, and they all should get a lot of well-deserved plaudits for that comeback and that performance and put themselves back into the race because, yes, indeed, could Denver go in there and be all over Patrick Mahomes? Yes, they could. This is not a great Chiefs team, and could the Chargers beat the Jaguars? Well, if the Jaguars have a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter, the Chargers are going to feel real confident. So maybe, just maybe, the Texans will beat the Titans and be in the wild card picture next week.
I love it, man. Hey, always great to talk to you, man. Look forward to next week after another dub, hopefully.
Guys, thank you very much for having me, as always.
Thanks,
yes, sir.
Shaun.
Appreciate it. He's the great General John McClain with us on Area 45. Joins us every Wednesday.